a quick lesson on the verb to be or ser en español, and it's about the conjugation of the verb ser. Alrighty, so ser, to be or not to be. That's la pregunta. So before I even get into conjugation of the verb ser, which is to be in English, I just want to go over a few concepts so that you can understand how we do that in Spanish. So when we look at this verb right now, to be, it is on, we call this, right now is in the original form, and there's a fancy term that we give to that, and it's called the infinitive. It just means that the verb is in the original form, that we haven't made any change to it to fit any of the subjects. And what do I mean by that? If I say I to be a student, normally we wouldn't speak like that, right? We wouldn't go around saying I to be a student, or you to be a student, or he to be a student. That just doesn't really make sense in English, right? So it happens the same in Spanish. It doesn't make sense to say I to be a student, you to be a student in Spanish. So then what we have to do is we have to take that verb, the verb to be, that is in the infinitive form, the original form, and we have to change it. We have to fit that subject in, and we have to make it fit the action. So instead of saying I to be a student, normally I would say I am a student. Instead of saying you to be a student, we say you are a student. Instead of saying he to be a student, we say he is a student. So right now, I took that verb that was in the infinitive form, in this case to be, and I broke that down to fit every subject that was doing the action. So I to be to versus I am a student. Now I'm making sense. You to be to you are a student. Now I'm making sense. And when we do that, when we take that verb from the infinitive form, we call that process of conjugation, because I took my verb from the infinitive and I switched it up to match the subject that was doing the action. So now I'm making sense. Well, the same happens in Spanish. We conjugate verbs in Spanish, and this only applies to verbs. Conjugation only happens to verbs. Let me repeat that again. Conjugation only happens to verbs, okay? Some students get confused when we talk about nouns, and the nouns are the ones that we have to worry about gender and number, whether it's feminine, masculine, singular, or plural. But right now, we're not talking about any nouns. Nouns are the names of person, places, and things. These are verbs. Verbs are the ones that we conjugate so that we can make them fit we can make a fit who's doing the action in the sentence. So now let's do that in Spanish with the verb to be. In Spanish, the verb to be is ser. And before I do that, I'm just going to color code the pronouns. And I'm going to do azul, blue for pronouns, and purple for the conjugation. So we know that I is yo, you informal tú, he, él, she, ella, you formal usted, nosotros if it's we masculine, nosotras if it's we only females in the group. And we know we default to nosotros if it's if it's both female and males in the group. Y'all in Spain, or you plural, is vosotros, and applies the gender thing where it's vosotras if it's just girls. Then we said they if it's ellos, masculine, or they or ellas if it's they, feminine. But if it's they and it has girls and boys in it, I default to the masculine, which is ellos. And then the last one, ustedes, which is the other way to say y'all, but this one is used in all the other Spanish-speaking countries, and it is ustedes. For the formal way to call y'all is not really y'all, it's you plural. Now let's get to the conjugation. So for me to go from ser, right, which is to be, I don't go around and say yo ser, tú ser, él ser, because it will be the equivalent to I to be, you to be, he to be. So instead we conjugate. So for me to say I am, my conjugation of ser for yo is soy. You are, tú eres. He is, él es. She is, ella es. You are, usted es. We are, nosotros or nosotras somos. Y'all are, vosotros or vosotras sois. And they are, ellos or ellas son. And ustedes son, for you all are. Notice how in the bottom in the left side, he, she, and you formal share the exactly same conjugation, which is es. And then in the right side, ellos and ustedes also share the same conjugation, which is son. And I give you this pattern, this table, because it's a visual that you guys can have to remember when we get into more conjugations, because this is not the only conjugation that we have. Okay, so that again is yo soy, tú eres, él es, ella es, usted es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellos, ustedes son. And this is our conjugation of verb ser. And just to quickly explain to you, when you get into making sentences in Spanish, it has the same sentence structure that we do in English. First of all, you need a subject. So my subject in this case, I'm going to make a we, and it's going to be feminine. So that will be nosotras. I need to fix that, nosotras. And then the conjugation for nosotras should be somos. And then my predicate, I'm just making something up and I'm going to say the friends. So we are friends. And in this case, my noun, friends, this is when I worry about the gender and number. My noun for friend, I'm talking about female friends. So that has to be a. And my article, the, has to fit that as well. So it's las amigas. You could also say unas amigas, which is some friends. Another example, they masculine, so that would be ellos. And the conjugation for ellos to say they are will be son. And then my predicate, I'm just going to make it the students. So ellos son los estudiantes. And I have to use los because it's masculine. So since this noun is hybrid, it doesn't really have a gender specific, but I do have to change my article to match that. Another example, you plural, ustedes. To say y'all are, I have to say ustedes son. And then the word for woman is mujer. But then this noun mujer, I'm talking about multiple women, plural, so I have to make it mujeres. I have to add an es because it ends in a consonant. And then the article is not just la mujer, but it's las because it's more than one. I could also say unas mujeres if I wanted to say you are some woman. My last example, you informal is tú. Conjugation will be eres, you are, tú eres. And if I want to say a teacher instead of the teacher, and it's telling me to use feminine, so I will say una maestra. Maestra is my noun of teacher for a female teacher. And I'm only talking about one teacher, so it remains singular. So again, this is just to show you how the sentence structure works in Spanish, and it's just like English. So every time you're writing your sentence, make sure that you're following that sentence structure. The only thing that will be different that I didn't add the sample is when we're saying that if for number one I were to say we are not friends. The word for not will be no in Spanish, which is no, and it will go before the word somos. So the no will always go before the verb. It will read nosotros no somos las amigas. Ellos no son los estudiantes. Ustedes no son las mujeres. Or tú no eres una maestra. So whenever we use the word don't or not, it has to go before the verb conjugation. Okay, I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, just come and see me.